Oh, well, hello, boys and girls. Oh, today is a mystery day. Yes, that's right. That's why I'm dressed like this. I'm going out to solve some mysteries. Well, I've got to go out to solve some of the greatest mysteries. Do you know some? Yeah, that is a possible one. But what about the great Sherlock Holmes? Or maybe how the Grinch stole Christmas? That would be a great mystery. No, today I'm sharing with you one of the greatest written mysteries ever. Miss Nelson is missing. Oh, Mrs. Nelson is a nice teacher, and she goes missing. We need to find her. So let's begin our story. The kids in room 207 were misbehaving again. Spitballs stuck to the ceiling, paper planes whizzed through the air. They were the worst behaved class in the entire school. Now settle down, said Miss Nelson in a sweet voice. But the class just would not settle down. They whispered and they giggled. They squirmed and they made faces. They were even rude during story hour. I know you're not being rude with me, are you? No. And they all refused to do their lessons. Something will have to be done, said Mrs. Nelson. The next morning, Mrs. Nelson did not come to school. Wow! Yelled the kids. Now we can really act up. They began to make more spitballs and more paper airplanes. Today will just be terrible, they said. Not so fast, hissed an unpleasant voice. A woman in a ugly black dress stood before them. I am your new teacher, Miss Viola Swamp. And she rapped her desk with her ruler. Excuse me, where is Mrs. Nelson? Asked the kids. Never mind, snapped Mrs. Swamp. Open those arithmetic books. Mrs. Nelson's kids did as they were told. They could see that Mrs. Swamp was a real witch. She meant business. Right away, she put them to work, and she loaded them down with homework. Ow, ow. Well, we'll have no more story hour, she said. Keep your mouth shut, Mrs. Swamp said. Sit perfectly still, said Mrs. Swamp. And if you're misbehaving, you'll be sorry, said Mrs. Swamp. The kids in room 207 had never worked so hard. Days went by, and there was still no sign of Mrs. Nelson. The kids missed Mrs. Nelson. Maybe we should try to find her here, they said. Some of them went to the police. Detective McSmog was assigned to the case. He listened to their story. He scratched his chin. He said. You know, I think Mrs. Nelson is missing. Detective McSmog wouldn't be of much help to the kids. The other kids went to Mrs. Nelson's house. The shades were tightly drawn, and no one answered the door. In fact, the only person they did see was the wicked Miss Viola Swamp. She was coming down the street. If she sees us at all, she'll give us more homework. They got away just in time. Maybe something terrible happened to Mrs. Nelson. Maybe she was gobbled up by a shark. But, that didn't seem too likely. Maybe Mrs. Nelson went to Mars, said another kid. But that really didn't seem too likely either. I know, exclaimed one know-it-all. Maybe Mrs. Nelson's car was carried off by a swarm of angry butterflies. But that really seemed the least likely of all. The kids in room 207 became very discouraged. It seemed that Miss Nelson was never, ever coming back. And they would be stuck with Miss Viola Swamp forever. They heard footsteps in the hall. Here comes the witch, they whispered. Well, hello, children, someone said in a sweet voice. It was Miss Nelson. She was back. Did you miss me? She asked. Oh, we certainly did, cried all the children. Where were you? Now that's my little secret, said Miss Nelson. How about a story hour? Oh, yes, cried the kids. Miss Nelson noticed that during story hour, no one was rude or silly. What brought about all this lovely change? She asked. That's our little secret, said the kids. Back home, Miss Nelson took off her coat and hung it up. There, in the closet, right next to an ugly black dress. When it was time for bed, she sang a little song. I'll never tell, she said to herself with a smile. P.S. Detective McSmog is working on a new case. He is now looking for Miss Viola Swamp. Quite a conundrum. There's your new word. Is about a mystery. First, our Miss Nelson was missing. Now, Miss Viola Swamp. Do you think I should go and look for her? Nah, I think we're fine. Well, boys and girls, I do hope that you're working hard with your parents as they are setting in and making sure you're doing your work for your teachers. I hope you're doing your work for your teachers online and doing what they ask, but most importantly, I hope you're being kind to everyone in your family today. Well, you have a great day. We look forward in talking with you soon. Bye-bye.